All right. And Jim, are you going to cover logging into Express at the beginning, or would you like me to mention that?
You know what? If you want to show the workflow you guys use, that would be great.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm happy to do it.
I don't mind doing that. I usually try to show it at the beginning just because
Sure.
some folks are logging in for the first time and it's a little different.
Yep.
So I'm happy to do that. I'll share my screen at the beginning.
Oh.
You know, since it's something that you need to request to get access for like a student, I think that's a great thing too.
Cool. All right. Well, let me turn this and we'll go ahead and get started since we are right at 10:30 here. So welcome everyone. Welcome folks online and folks in person. Many of you were at our first session this morning covering Acrobat. And next up is Adobe Express. But first I will introduce our presenter today. Jim Babbage is here online from Adobe. Thank you, Jim. And also Stephen Watson is here as well. He'll introduce himself in a second. But my intro for Jim, just so you guys all know who he is Senior Solutions Consultant for Adobe Systems. He has a background in teaching and photography. Before he worked for Adobe, he was a college professor for 21 years, teaching imaging and web design and photography. He's presented at many tech conferences, including Adobe Max and education conferences as well. He's an excellent presenter, and we're going to be hearing from him next on Adobe Express. And I'll show us all how to get into Express in just a moment, but first up, we'll have Steve come up so you can all see and hear from him for a moment.
Hello, everyone. I'm Stephen Watson. I'm an Adobe Senior Customer Success Manager working with creative campuses. So Central Michigan, since you are one of those, not only providing access to our software to students, but also looking to develop a digital learning experience for students across the curriculum. We're very excited to be with you today. And so thank you for your time.
Thank you, Stephen. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to share my screen real quick so that everyone can quickly get into Express if you've never been in it before. Express is a little different from other Adobe programs because it's completely online. So you don't have to download a program onto your computer. All you need is an internet browser and an internet connection, and you can get to Express. I recommend Google Chrome for Express. It is functional with all browsers, but I find Chrome works the best with our CMU linking to our CMU account. So I do recommend Chrome. And let me see if I can just quickly share my screen. Okay, hopefully folks online can see. Okay, let me see. I'm going to do this a little differently. Okay, we'll share this way. Hopefully. I don't want to share screen. I want to share. Come on. Folks online can see it, but I'm trying to get it on the screen in the room too. This way. Okay. Can you see the Google Chrome, folks online?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I just want to make sure everyone can see it. So in Chrome, just go ahead and go to express.adobe.com. which will take you right to the login page. If you've logged into Express before, it'll take you right in. You'll see your name at the top of the screen. This is Express. If you've not logged in before, I'll just sign out real quick so you guys can see. It'll usually take you to a sign-in screen like this, and you'll type in your CMU credentials. You need to have requested your CMU Adobe Access in order to sign in, which I'm assuming most of you have done, but if you haven't, you can put that in the chat if you want, and we'll reach out to you to get you set up. But otherwise, sign in, get into Express, and then you'll be able to follow along for Jim's presentation. And you're welcome to put questions in the chat throughout, but we'll have time for questions at the end as well. That's all for me.
Okay. All right. I guess that means it's my turn. Okay. Welcome, everybody. Go ahead and share my screen. There we go. And you should be seeing a slide that says Adobe Express with Firefly. I'm just going to make a couple adjustments because Teams likes to put things in my way. There we go. Okay. So, first of all, thank you very much for joining. This is going to be an exciting, fast-paced 45-ish minutes. I'll leave some time for Q&A at the end. Feel free to experiment, but I will be going at a fairly quick pace. So don't worry if you don't, we're not doing specific exercises that you're going to leave with a deliverable. I want to give you a sense of the possibilities here more than anything else. So you can sit back, get some popcorn, and watch, and that's perfectly fine, or you can play around on your own as well. I'm going to start off with a couple slides. I won't take you too far down the slide process because I'm sure you're going to see lots of those today. But I'm going to start off with just a couple things here. And this, by the way, as a side note, is a presentation I created inside of Adobe Express. Right, this isn't PowerPoint or Keynote. This is actually a new functionality in Express that allows you to create a presentation through the Express interface. So, a couple things I like to share. This is a quote from Alan November, who's an educator and speaker. And I love this comment for multiple reasons. Teachers need to stop saying hand it in and start saying publish it. And that's really what Express is all about. It's not just about creating content, it's about sharing that content. It's about communicating, it's about telling your story. If you're of a certain age range, much like myself, you may remember walking down a street and there's some poor soul standing on the corner with a box full of his books that he's trying to sell independently. Those days are long gone. But what has replaced it is the ability for anyone to self-publish in some shape, manner, or form, whether that's from just to share information and get it out there at no charge, or other ways electronically through tools like Amazon and things along those lines. And it's more and more, I find, more important for students to understand that the work they're doing in class is not just to get marks, not just to get grades. What's the relevance to this when they graduate? How is this material, what they've learned, what they synthesized, going to help them get that job, right? Or make that mark in society. And being able to not just create that content, or build out that research, but being able to share that in an impactful and engaging way is really important, and in a variety of different modalities, whether it's graphics or video or audio, you name it. It's really important that we as faculty, as teachers, embrace this, but also that students understand that this is where it's all going. This is where it all is. Sure, we've all done a TikTok video, but how do you utilize some tools like these, like Adobe Express, to actually make your mark, to differentiate yourself from others in the same field? So a couple short definitions, and we'll be looking at both of these components. Adobe Express, as was mentioned, is a web-based tool set for digital storytelling and content creation. You don't need to install anything. You don't need to download anything to get it running. Adobe Firefly is an intuitive and powerful generative AI set of tools created by Adobe that's integrated into Adobe Express to help those who want to generate content in that manner. It's also integrated into many of our Creative Cloud tools like Photoshop and Illustrator, InDesign, and so on. So those are sort of quick ideas of what the two main tools are. In terms of what Express can do, it really comes down to, at this point, what it can't do. And let me tell you, if it can't do it today, check back in 2 weeks. The iteration cycle for Express is mind-boggling. I will open up the application in my browser and, oh, that's something that's new. Yeah, literally, I'm finding new things all the time, which is fun. Can be a little challenging when you're presenting because sometimes a menu will move to a different location. But overall, it's for the best, and we're seeing some amazing things with it. So what can you do? Image creation and design, video editing, animation, build out infographics, create reports and presentations, build out long-form web stories, self-reflections, photo essays, create business pitches, create an interactive online resume. And you can also integrate with as I mentioned earlier, with our other Creative Cloud tools. You can bring Photoshop files right into Express. You can bring Illustrator files right into Express and continue working on them from there. That might be more of a situation where you have a designer who wants to share a complicated Photoshop file with some other content creators, maybe in marketing or in corporate communications. They're maybe not say Photoshop users, but they want to have access to that content. They want to be able to do things like change a date, change a location for an event. And, having to go back to the main creatives to do that can be challenging, right? Because everyone's busy. So if you can empower those content creators to make those simple changes while staying on brand because you've supplied them with essentially a template, it makes it easier for everyone to get their jobs done. Okay. Firefly, we're going to talk about a bit later. So I'm going to escape out of this for now. And we're going to pop right into Express. So a couple things I want to point out. I'm just going to bring up one page. If you were here earlier, you saw this image. And I want to bring this up for a couple of reasons. This is a kind of fun icebreaker exercise for students. In this case, it's like sort of a creative identity, but it could be anything really. But you can use Express to bring in things like a photo, add text, and just talk a bit about who you are, or talk a bit about your favorite hobby, or whatever you want. All these elements in here are all editable. I've grouped a lot of them so it's easier to move stuff around, but they're all editable. I can drill down and I can go and edit individual assets in there and grab my picture. And you might notice here that I've been cut out of my photo, of the main photo. So if I select that image, and oh, that one's already been done. So, but I'll show you a removing background in just a minute as well. But I've basically been able to, in Express, remove the distracting elements, and just have my photo in there. And not only that, I can take this and use it as a static graphic, but in my case here, I took it a little further and I turned it into an animation, right? Just quickly. So it gives me another way to share this. I could share this on Instagram. I could share it as a video file, whatever I wanted. So it just gives you a quick and easy way to start the process. Now, before I get too far in, I want to give you a general overview of the Express interface. I'm logged in, and you'll see across the top here, the big logo here in the upper left corner. If you ever want to get back to the main Express page or interface, just click on that. That takes you right back out to where you saw with Katie earlier. Welcome, Jim. What do you want to make? And one of the things I love about the way we've designed Express is it's not about the tool so much as it is about what you want to do with the tool, right? What's your goal? What's your plan? And I think that's a really interesting shift in how this tool set is put to create it. It's focused on the goals. It's focused on the end result. So you can see here, just below the search bar, do you want to create something for social media? Do I want to create a video? Do I want to work with photos? Do I want to create a document? Maybe there's some marketing material I want to generate, or maybe I want to use, generative AI. We'll be talking about that as well. And then as I scroll down through here, you'll see getting started. I can start with a blank screen and give me some sort of basic blank area or blank documents that I can get started with. So if I want to create an Instagram post, a square Instagram post, if I don't know what that pixel dimension is, I don't have to worry about it because I can either create from scratch an empty document or I can browse a bunch of templates that are professionally designed that are all designed to work for Instagram. And I can click on any one of these and try them out. Some of them have animations. I can play that animation out, just like we saw with my little sample, or some of them are static. It's really up to me. So I can play around and find something to get inspired by. All the elements that are in here are all selectable. They're all editable. So it's great from the standpoint of not having to start from a completely blank screen if you don't want to. Just going to go back to the home page again. I can also start from my own content. I can upload my own photos or videos or files by clicking on that icon, the thumbnail on the far left. If I scroll down a little more, you'll see some options for using our generative AI tools. We'll touch on that in a bit. And then also something called quick actions. Now, these are pretty cool. These are powered by a lot of our main desktop tools technologies, like Premiere Pro, for example, or Photoshop. And it allows me to do things like remove a background really easily, or generate a QR code, or create a collage of images, or build a logo. Um, all these things, trimming video, things that can be really complicated or seem really complicated. If you open up a professional level tool like Premiere Pro, you're able to take that action, that goal, and simplify it so you can do just that thing. And maybe trim a video so you get rid of the beginning and the end that were just leftover stuff, right? That don't need to be in there. Or you can resize a video to different aspect ratios, or even merge multiple videos into one video file. And then we talked a little bit briefly before we got going about scheduling, and this is another important component here. Is you've got the ability to schedule your content, build it out on a slow day, and then schedule it to be released on different days throughout the week to different media channels. And at the very bottom, I can keep scrolling, but these are more templates, gives you some ideas of things that can be done. Add-ons, we'll talk a little bit about that. And then some more examples of generating content, inserting content through generative AI. At the very bottom, I see the most recent projects I've been working on right along the bottom. So I can click on any one of these to get right into that file. Now, I can also look at all my stuff through the appropriately named Your Stuff icon. I create a lot of content with Express, so I have organized my content into folders, so it's easier for me to find content. But if I just do a quick scroll through here, you'll see I'm doing a lot of stuff all the time. I'm building out content for presentations. I'm doing my own personal work. My background is photography, so I'll put together little projects where I'm promoting my own photography, maybe for an upcoming exhibit, that kind of thing. And I can see a lot of different elements in here. Right? And any one of these I can click on at any time to continue working on. I also have the ability to combine a bunch of things into a project, where then I can then share that project with other people on my team, and they have access to all the contents inside that project, which can be really great. I have access to Creative Cloud libraries as well. So if I'm working with or comfortable with Creative Cloud libraries, I can actually pull in that kind of content that has been either shared with me or that I've created myself and put into a Creative Cloud library folder. Okay, I'm going to go back to the home page again. I want to show you a couple quick examples of what can be done, and then we'll try and build something out and have a bit of fun with it. So I'm going to hop over here to, and I apologize for the loading. I've been doing a lot of things lately, and sometimes I get signed out and signed back in. But I want to give you a couple quick examples of what other people are doing, not just me. And this is a great curation of content of students using Adobe Express to create content for in-class projects, research pieces, and so on. I'm just going to scroll down a little bit. You can see some of the power of infographics, right? We'll take a look at how we can transform a static report or static page of information into an infographic in just a minute. But we see how these things are all built inside of Adobe Express and showcasing work and communicating our work in impactful ways. Even if we're not photographers or animators or videographers or illustrators, we can use a tool like Express to focus on telling our story without having to worry about learning a tool from front to back or reading a really thick manual, although they don't really print them anymore, but you get the idea. But these are just some examples of what some students have done to actually build out really effective content. I'll show you a couple other examples here. This is a great one. We talked, one of the things you can do with Express is build an online resume. This is built using Express web page. This is a student, Olivia Stanton, who basically created her resume in Adobe Express as a web page to showcase everything she's learned at her school prior to graduating, to showcase the value she will bring to an employer, to a hospital, to a clinic, and not just a list of skills and a list of things like that, but actually talking about projects she's worked on, how these impacted her, what kind of an effect they had on her learning and her skill set, and really combined very easily into a combination of words and images that and hyperlinks that make it easy for me as a possible interviewer of this individual to sort of get a deeper understanding, a more three-dimensional understanding of who this individual is, right? And then there's a link out to projects she did regarding flu season, a mock-up they did for waiting rooms, and on how, basically sort of a sense of building out more patient-focused care applications, things along those lines. So really phenomenal examples, and really gives you a very quick insight into who this individual is and what they're capable of doing. They're very digitally flexible, right? And digitally fluid. Another example here is from student Morgan Zahner, who I love this example because she's taken her passion for sport. In this case, she's a rower, competitive rower, and she's taken what she's learned as a rower, the soft skills, the interpersonal skills, the team building skills, taken all of that and showcased it in ways that those skills, that being a team player, working on a team, coordinating with others, how that's going to impact her as an employee, as someone who can really get the job done. Building out, how to handle the unknown, building self-confidence, having a positive outlook. And she's broken these all down through images and text as to how she's going to benefit anybody that decides to employ her. And so, again, a really great example of what can be done to sort of communicate across what you are, who you are, and what you can do. All right, so this one is going to be, I'm not sure what that one was because it signed me out. So, okay, let's see, what do we got? Okay, all right, let me just see if this, yes, so the one I wanted to talk to you about next. We talked about infographics as one example, one modality in which you can communicate information. This is sort of sort of a high-level example, sort of a Betty Crocker cooking show example of how a document can evolve into something far more interactive. We start off here with this research piece on the effect of plastic water bottles on the environment, right? The data's there, the research is accurate, it's all very readable, it's all very legible, but I think we can all pretty much agree that while the information is there, it's not really exciting, it's not really engaging, it's just there, right? So how can we express this information, get engagement from our audience in a different way? How do we get them to the really important points? Well, one of the ways to do this is by building out an infographic. So inside of Express, I can do a search, and I'll show you how to do this in a second, for a template. In this case, it's really focused on pollution. And this is the starting point. This is what the template looked like. And you'll notice as I mouse over this, all these elements are completely editable, repositionable, removable, whatever I want. I can change things up, scale them, change the color, whatever I like. But what I want to do is take that starting point, something that resonates with me visually, and start building out my own version of this. So I start with this template as a ground level, and then I take my information and I start to add that. I remove the other elements and I start bringing in my own graphics, my own fonts, my own visuals, so I can build out a result that is going to, I think, effectively communicate the most important points of my research, right? And we see it visually. We see the text. We have a really good sort of grasp on what the concerns are over bottled water. I can take this further. Once I built out this sort of poster style infographic, I might want to have this ready for social media. Maybe I'm doing a whole campaign, an awareness campaign maybe on campus on the issues with plastic water bottles rather than using a refillable bottle. So I can take this, I can customize it a bit more, and then I can take the same document and resize it specifically for different social media applications. And all I've done here is chosen the option to resize, and you'll see that in the upper left, and I can pick from all these different social media aspect ratios. I don't need to know the measurements. I don't need to actually know what the aspect ratio is, whether it's 16:9 or 4:5 or whatever it happens to be, because Express is giving me not just what that particular format is in terms of a label, but also showing me what the options are, what the measurements are for that. So I can pick any one of these and then sort of tweak or reposition my elements to suit that new dimension if I want to. So that's what I've done here is I've basically taken it from a long skinny infographic into something that's more readable on an Instagram post. I can take it even further by saying, okay, I've got this. I've gone from just text to an infographic to something that's suitable for social media, but I want to take it and add more life to it. So I can take that same information, resize it again, and then using the elements that are the aspects or the tools that are built into Express, I can start to animate those elements. That's just usually one quick example of it. If I move forward, I can take that and see this in a more complete version, complete with, and I'm not sure if you'll hear it, because I can't remember if I checked the box, but complete with audio. So each piece comes on at a different time and gives the viewer a chance to really appreciate all those different elements along with some appropriate background music. All done inside of Express. I didn't have to go to a different application to do any of this. Right? Now, if I take it a little step further, all right, there's the full video again. And
17 million barrels
this time
are
with
consumed in
voiceover.
yearly production of water bottles. 50% of
So I can add voiceover narration, I can add background music, I can do a lot to take that static report sheet that we started with and turn it into something far more engaging, easier to understand, easier to ingest, easier for me to generate awareness of the concerns I have, right? So that kind of gives you sort of a start to finish of that one document. But hey, as they often say on commercials, but wait, there's more, right? So I can take this and build beyond, right? Make sure I've got the right screen open. Yes, I do. So I can incorporate an avatar. I can incorporate a character to introduce my content. And this could be from a student perspective. This could be a faculty member introducing a course that they're doing. It could be someone who's maybe camera shy. They want to use their voice, but they're a little self-conscious about how they look or about being on camera. Well, Express has the ability to do something called animate a character. And you can literally use your own voice to animate a character and tie it in with existing artifacts you've already created. So let's see what we get here. Just going to play back some of this.
Hi, for my research project, I decided to research the impact of bottled water. Here are a few highlights from the information I found.
Now, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but you can get the sense that the characters lip syncing with the voice of the narrator. We're tying that in or we're syncing that in with other elements like the title. And if I scroll through here along the timeline, you can see there's my animated video infographic we saw earlier. Character comes back to do a sort of a summary, and then it points out to different sources that are available for citing the sources where they got their research from. And then I can take this, I can download it. I can download it as an MP4 as a video file. I can also download it as a static element, but you won't get the animation. You'll kind of get what you see to begin with. Video is obviously the best for this because there's animation built into it. And I can also share this in a variety of different ways too. We talked a bit about this. I can share this through different sources, Google Drive, through Dropbox. I can save it to Adobe's cloud. I can turn it into a template that other people can repurpose without impacting my original work. I can create a link that either people can provide feedback on. So if this is a student-based project, I could provide a link to my teacher. They could then provide feedback on the project as well. And I can determine whether I'm going to let anybody see this or only people I want to invite. So if I want to keep it a little more private, I can do that. I can control that. And then I can also, as we talked about earlier, share to social. So if I click on that, it's going to open up the social media sharing options. And it's going to actually take a little bit of time in this case to upload. So we probably won't stick around for the whole thing, but I can choose the channels I want to share to. If I want to share to Twitter/X or LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook, I can do that. I can also connect to other social media channels as well. And I can take that and schedule it. Do I want to publish it now? Do I want to schedule it for a release at a later time? Do I want to just save it as a draft? So I've got it available, but I'm not ready to publish it. Lots of capability there to sort of plan out my sharing, especially if I'm doing some kind of campaign where I may want to provide new information throughout a couple weeks at a certain time of day. I can do that, which gives me a lot of power over controlling my message and controlling the awareness people have of what I'm doing. All right, I'm going to take this a little further. We've seen the creation and the evolution from a static text report. We can go even further with this, turn it into a presentation like you were seeing me do earlier at the beginning of the session, where I can start to build out a presentation with all my information, including my video. And this is a template that I started with inside of Express, so I can customize each one of these pages. If I have a page I don't like or I don't need, I can even hide it, right? I can skip that page and hide it from view. So if I was to play it back publicly or share a link, that particular page would not be visible based on that control. Now, if I go back to that first page, you see here, I've done a couple things. I've added in a QR code that I created with our quick action. So it will take me out, if I snap that QR code, it would take me to a web page that I've created. And we'll take a look at how to do that as well. And then right here is this image. Now, not everybody's a photographer or an illustrator or an animator. And in fact, in many cases, some of the most important career paths, the technical career paths, you may find that you need to be able to showcase or illustrate a concept without necessarily having that skill set to build something from scratch, right? To create something engaging and professional looking and things along those lines. So we give you options inside of Express to do this in a couple different ways. You can obviously, of course, incorporate your own work if you've got it, especially if it's documentary research and you've got photos, you'll want to include those. But if you want a conceptual image, maybe a title image, that kind of thing, or a way just to sort of outline the concerns you have and summarize them, there's a couple different ways to do this. I'm just going to go, I've selected the picture. I'm going to click on replace. And if you look over on the left-hand side, you'll see I can either replace this with another photo, I can replace it with a video. And what I'm replacing it with at this moment is either from uploading from my own device, assets that I already have, or I could search the photos here. And if I type in here, plastic pollution, and just hit return, Express is going to search its database of images provided by Adobe Stock. These are all professionally created images. And I can, if I find something here I feel is more appropriate, I can select that image and drop it right in, just like that. Now, there's a lot of great, and admittedly, considering the topic, somewhat disturbing content here. But if I can't find what I'm looking for, right? If I can't find the thing I need quickly or effectively, or if I'm looking for something very, very specific, or maybe I have a concept I want to illustrate more than a specific image, I can actually go ahead and choose replace, and I can actually utilize our generative AI capabilities to bring a different image into place as well. So in my case here, what I'm probably going to do is, I'm not sure what, oh, there we go. That was done. I didn't want to remove the background. Hang on a second. That's kind of interesting, but not what we wanted. I'll undo that. What I wanted was, for some reason, I've lost one of my tools. Oh, well, I'll show you how to do it in a different way. But what I want to do is generate a new image, right? So what I can do is I'm going to hop back over to my main screen, and I'm going to choose to generate an image. And I can do this right from here, or I can go right into other aspects here, removing elements, inserting elements, even creating a template from my own text prompt. In my case here, I'm going to type in the threat of plastic pollution on freshwater systems. So I'm not describing an actual thing. I'm describing a concept, right? And I'll just go ahead and choose generate. And that's going to open up this image, this window, and give me the ability to either accept what's being generated or, again, further tweak this to get the results that I want. It'll take a few seconds. And within a few seconds, I get 4 different images that I can start with. If I like these, great. Actually, that one's not too bad. But if I don't like any of them, I can choose to generate more, or I can tweak my text prompt, or I can decide to change the look and feel. In my case, these are more photographic. Maybe I want something that's more conceptual, more illustrative. So maybe I'll choose palette knife. And I'm going to choose generate again. And what that's going to do is give me new options that I can then work with. Again, takes a few seconds. But we'll see those 4 results pop up in here. And this actually might be better for me because it's a little more abstract, a little more inclusive or all-inclusive of the concept I'm worried about here. And, gives me some really, really interesting results. If I don't like these, I can certainly change them. I can change the visual components here to control that look and feel. I can add different styles, different techniques to get a better look, but it's all very visual. I'm not having to worry about special punctuation or special phrasing to create my text prompt. It's meant to be a very intuitive process. I think I like this one myself, so I'm just going to go ahead and download that. It's going to download it as a JPEG file. Won't take long to do that. And then if I go back and go to my presentation again, there's my image. I can just go ahead and select that and replace it with my new graphic, which is in my downloads folder. I think that's the one. Yes, that's it. Okay, great. Open that up, drop that into place. So I can customize my look and feel very quickly. I'm not limited by what I'm able to do or comfortable doing in terms of my skill set. I can have Firefly, our generative AI tool, help me build out that illustration. And I can still decide myself, is this too much? Is this too little? Is this the right kind of mood that I want to set going forward for the presentation? So I get a lot of control based on that. And then I can also, as I mentioned earlier, take all this information and build it out into a web page as well. So not only can I create the infographic, create the social media campaign, build out a presentation I can present in front of people, but I can also create a shareable web page that essentially covers my topic in a different modality, right? And this is something I can share globally. And the great thing about building out a web page is that once you publish it, the web page address is persistent. And what that means is that I can come back to this web page tomorrow or next week or next month as the author, make updates to this web page, publish those updates, and everybody who I've shared that link with will automatically see the latest version of that web page. The website address doesn't change. I don't have to inform people of a new URL. They can always go back to it. It's always available. It's always persistent. And again, the sharing process, pretty straightforward. Just click on the share button. I can either publish it to the web, or I can, if I choose to, I can invite other people. If it's a team project, I can invite other collaborators to incorporate their content into the same page. So it's not just me having to do it all. If I'm working in a team, I can incorporate those people into working on a web page, into creating a video, into building out that presentation, or building out the infographic. We can work together as a group to produce those final results really, really easily. All right, now I'm going to go back and find, I'm just going to create a new window here. It's probably easier. I'm going to load in Express one more time. We looked at sort of some of the things you can do. And I want to pull in a couple different elements here. First of all, how do I make that web page? How do I even get started? I mean, web pages, that's HTML and CSS and JavaScript and all these other things I don't understand. And I want it to look good on my browser, but I want it to look good on the phone. And there's all these other elements that need to be considered. Well, Express takes all that worry out of the process, right? If I click on the plus sign over here on the left-hand side, And I often say, if you can click on a plus sign in the Express, you can create something awesome, usually in a few minutes. So I click plus, and I know I want a web page, so I'm just going to type in the word web page, and you'll see it comes up in my search options here, and I can choose to um, that option. And right off the bat, much like we saw with creating graphics, we actually give you, as a starting point, templates that you can use. And they're broken out into different categories: education, personal, business, portfolios. So I can pick any one of these. I can preview it, see what it looks like. If I like it, I can choose use the template, or I can just close that and start from scratch, right? And this is, I'll be quite honest, the way I work with it, and because the templates didn't exist when I started using Express, I typically start from scratch. But it's easy. It's easy to work with. I can start by adding my title. I'm going to go in and type in threat of plastic pollution. Wow, not a single typo. That's great. So I can type in my title. I'm getting prompted as to what content I can add. So I can add a subtitle if I want. Maybe I'll type in my name. And then down at the bottom, you see a little plus sign. Well, if I click on that, it's prompting me to add more content. In this case, that dynamic, powerful cover image. And I can do this in a few different ways. I can add a photo. I can add sort of a banner, horizontal banner photo, or I can do a split layout where one side is an image and one side is text. I really like the power of an individual photo here. So I click on photo. Again, I have the option here to upload from a device, from my desktop, or I can search through Adobe Stock inside of Express and get those results again. So if I see the images here that I like, if I see one that really resonates with me, let's go with let's try this one here. It'll automatically add it in. If I don't like this, again, I have the option to upload from my own personal device as well. And then as I scroll down, I see all the other things I can do. I can add more photos. I can add text. Let's drop in, here's a heading, just for the sake of it. And then I can format that. Right? So I'll just double click on all that text and change it into a large heading, right? I can continue clicking on that plus sign, maybe add a hyperlink out to some research that I had already done or I'd cited. A link to a video that's being hosted on YouTube or Vimeo, or a video that was created in Express and then hosted through Express. I can access any of those and just literally pop in the URL and it'll display it right on screen for me if I want to. I can continue to do things like work with other types of layout techniques like photo grids, where, as it probably sounds, makes a grid of photos. So maybe it's a series of other photographs of the problems in the environment, or maybe it's a step-by-step of how you did your research, whatever that happens to be. I can use something called a glide show, where I have a large image. And again, I think I'll go with this water bottle one here. It may be this one. And these become full screen images that I can then add additional content on top. I can add photos, more text, hyperlinks, videos. I can pull things in from my stuff even. So I've got the ability to pull in content in a variety of ways, and I can even move that container around in my design, so I can help the viewer's eye move and keep it interested and keep the brain active as they're scrolling through this content. As I scroll down, you'll see there's my other image, and look at this. I didn't have to code this really nice, smooth transition from image to image. I can move that content area over here to the right, add my text in here as well, maybe just drop in a new photo, and I can continue on, right? And I can make this basically as long or as short as I want. I can drop in any content that I feel is suitable. And then once I'm ready to go, or I think I'm ready to go, I can go ahead and preview it, make sure it's going to look suitable for me. I can even, once it's published, even view it on a smart device, on a smartphone or a mobile device, tablet. And I can even play it back full screen if I'm going to use it as a presentation live in front of an audience. Or, as I said, we saw earlier, I can share it. I can publish to web. And if I click on that icon there we go. I can give this a title, select all that bold text. Wow, no typos again. Amazing. I can add credits in here. If I worked on a team, I could acknowledge everyone who contributed to this report. I can set myself up as the author if I want. I can even allow other people to download this as a, well, not so much download, but access this inside of Express as a remixable template, if you will. So they can take my overall look and feel, my graphics and everything, and I can allow them to make their own version. Okay. And then I can even password protect it if I want to have it more hidden from public view. So, and then it's just simply a question of creating the link. If I create the link, it takes a few seconds, maybe a little longer if it's a really long page with a lot of graphics. There's the URL. You can see I can push it out to a variety of social media channels here. I can even get an embed code to drop it into, say, a WordPress website. But I can copy it. And if I go into my browser, create a new window and paste that URL, this is the live page that I've just created. Right? Just like that. Okay. So that's kind of a life cycle of a project, of what can be done, which I think is pretty exciting because there's so much you can do without leaving this one single application. I want to show you a couple other things inside of Express, and we looked at them, but I want to actually walk you through some of them. So I'm going to go back to my page here. I'm going to go back to the main site. I talked about a couple things. Actually, you know what I'm going to do first is I want to grab my little creative profile here, because something that I often forget to mention, I think is really powerful, is the ability to not just animate things and have a little fun doing that, but it's in English, right? Okay, that's great. But what if I'm working in an environment where I want to share this in other languages? If you take a really close look, top bar here above my graphic, you'll see an option to translate this document. So if I choose translate, I can choose one or more languages. Let's go with French. Let's try German. Now, what's going to happen with these is I'm going to be able to build out different variations of this design with different languages. I'm just going to click on translate. And it takes a few seconds, but now I've got three versions of my graphic, one in French, one in German, and one in English. And that did not take much time at all. This is powered by Google Translate. So I'm able to really make this an experience that I can make accessible to any audience if I want to. Okay, last thing I want to show you, which is fun because we saw a teaser of it, and that is a quick action I really, really like. I'm going to go to view all my quick actions, and this shouldn't take too long. Okay, where are we? There we go. Animate characters. I don't care who you are. This is fun. It's great from being able to introduce yourself as a faculty member, get people excited about a new course you're teaching. Maybe it's a way for a student to sort of showcase their own personality. I can pick from all of these different characters, and there's people, there are all sorts of different kinds of elements. We can look at classroom aspects. There's even animals. There's all sorts of different things in here. We're getting close to winter, but let's go ahead and grab this fellow here. And as soon as I grab that, select that object, that puppet, I can move him into place. I can resize him, make him bigger, make him smaller. Maybe I want to see a close up of his face, or maybe I want to make sure that I incorporate things like the hand gestures and stuff like that. So maybe I'll make him about that big. And here's the fun part of this. Not only can we pick the character, we can also pick the background. All right, so I can choose from all these preset backgrounds, or I can upload my own image. I can change the size to different aspect ratios, again, for suitable for different social media purposes. But once we've picked those things, all I've got to do is click on the record button to have this character speak in my voice. Hello and welcome. I can't wait to talk to you more about the effects of plastic pollution on our freshwater systems. Click done. Takes a few seconds for that to essentially be analyzed. Because what's happening here is it's not just uploading my voice track, it's actually tying it in with the character so that it will make gestures, it'll lip sync with my voice and end up giving me a very engaging, interactive kind of capability. So we'll take a second or two for this to happen. A little more computations going on, but there we go. Almost done. There we are. So I can play this back. Hello and welcome. I can't wait to talk to you more about the effects of plastic pollution on our freshwater systems. So I've got the ability here to create a great little introductory piece. I can download this to my desktop as an MP4 file. I can even open it in the Express editor to continue doing more, maybe adding in some text. If I just choose that, it's going to bring it into the Express editor, and maybe I'll go in and add a bit of text. I'll just go ahead and just pick up, let's see, add my text. Let's see, there we go. And maybe hit turn there and reposition this around. Drop it in. I can even screen it back so that the background is not as obvious. I can even change there's some preset suggestions for how the text you might want the text to look. I can add in a shape so that we end up with something that looks a little bit more, let's go with dynamic, like so, and then add a shape behind it so it's easy to read. I can adjust the opacity of that shape, and it's not just one color. I can do a variety of different things. Every once in a while, I get the dictionary, but there we go. So it makes it more readable. And then I've got that as another way to sort of help communicate. Okay, I'm going to stop talking because I have been talking for a while. And I'm going to stop sharing for a minute, and we'll come back to the main room and see if there are any questions. I covered a lot of ground pretty quickly, and there's so much more, but that hopefully gives you a taste of some of the possibilities inside of Express.
Jim, that was awesome. And I'll just
Okay.
say I haven't done web pages in a while, and so they've added some things like those templates are really cool.
They
I
are.
just realized I haven't clicked in there in a minute. So when you clicked in, I was like, ooh, what are those?
Yeah.
That's super
Yeah,
nice.
no, there's like literally new functionality every couple weeks. Some of it's very obvious, some of it's not. It could be performance improvements, but it could be full features like Translate, or like the new templates that are there for web, or the ability to incorporate other types of assets into your design. Even the video tool, I'm seeing a really basic example of it here in when I was doing my little animation, but you can add additional elements, you can add additional assets on top of your video. You can remove the background from a video as well. I didn't get a chance to show that, but I'll see if I think that's the one page that didn't come up for me. So, but the power that's there to help you focus as a storyteller on telling the story, I'm making your message engaging and interesting and fun, without having to focus on how to make the program do what you need it to do, can be really, really helpful.
A quick question. So,
Yes.
okay, so I love the QR code function. I use it all the time.
Yeah.
I would love to get rid of my my build to Bitly. So is there ever going to be a chance for us to make those short links in Adobe?
I'll never say never.
Okay.
But I can't guarantee if or when a new functionality might become available. So yeah, it would be great, and the QR codes are sort of a shortcut for that. But yeah, it is a question I've heard before, but I have not heard anything regarding our roadmap on how soon or if that will become an option inside of Express. It's a great a great request, and I encourage you. We have, and I don't have the link handy. Stephen may be able to find it. We have it's a customer feedback mechanism called User Voice that you can submit your feature requests, and basically, well, it's a popularity contest. The more votes a feature gets, the more likely it is to be put into the development pipeline down the road. But that's a really good question, and it's something I've definitely heard before.
I think there's a way to give feedback right in Express of features you'd
go.
like to see, and it takes you to that form. So it's like in the top right corner, and
Yeah.
it says like give feedback, and you can tell Adobe
There it
like
is,
I
yeah.
want to see this feature.
Awesome.
I'll show you actually now I've reloaded my browser. Bear with me for a second. So if I'm in Express, that little beaker you see in the upper right, that's your provide feedback option. So I can submit an idea, I can join the Facebook community, share feedback, lots of different ways to get your message out there. And this was the project I was working on. I was hoping to show you that wasn't loading for me. But just to give you a couple things, as we got a couple minutes, I'm going to go to some specific parts of this project. First of all, we've got this is sort of an introduction to a course, if you will, and I've got a photo of the faculty member or trainer, and you'll notice that we've got a really neat background, like almost a blueprint style background that we've created using Adobe Firefly. But she's kind of like it's just this box sitting on the canvas. It's not very attractive in terms of it blending in with anything else. So I can select that photo, and this is something that was a process in Photoshop for the longest time. But now it's one click and the background is gone. Just like that. I don't have to know anything special about masking or drawing a selection or anything like that. The AI built into Express is smart enough to really identify what's going on, who the subject is or what the subject is and what isn't required, and can really quickly and effectively and accurately remove that background. Now, if I show you this in a slightly different context, let's see here. Is this the one? Bear with me for a second. Nope, it's the next one. Okay, this one here, if I play it, oh, that's our static one. Sorry, again, I've got a few of these sort of in process. Here's the one I wanted. I select my video of the same faculty member or trainer. You see right now, I'll just undo that. This is the full video that was supplied to me, right? And as I can with a static image, I just select the asset and choose remove background. And just like that, I've got essentially green screen capability for essentially any video footage I pull in there, as long as there's an easy enough to identify main subject, right? So I can really create a lot of content here without having to open up multiple applications. I'm not going to do a 90-minute documentary here. Let's be realistic. But if I'm doing a 2, 3, 5 minute video that doesn't require incredible animation effects and special effects, chances are I could probably put it together inside of Express and export it out as an MP4 quite easily.
I
So that's
did
just
notice
another-
oh, sorry, Jim.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I noticed we had a question in the chat, and also Thad had raised his hand online too. So I don't know if he
great.
had a question as well.
All right, let's see here. I'm going to stop sharing again so I can see the chat. I'm interested in knowing if there's a way to wrap text. Oh, yes, you and me both. Lori, I would love to have the ability to wrap text around an image. It's not there yet. We are seeing more support for long form overflow text. So there used to be with Express, when you're building on a graphic and you had a big body of text, it was a little more challenging to reflow it across a page. And now we're able to literally take text and float it into different boxes on the same page, something that we only did in InDesign until recently. Wrapping around a text object is not there yet. I'm sure it's on the list of our engineers, but at some point we'll probably see more of those, pardon me, InDesign-like capabilities become available. And I think you said Thad had a question. Go ahead, Thad.
Hi, yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Given all that Express can do, does it behoove someone to then learn how to do Photoshop or Illustrator? If they're not, clearly, if they're going to be a designer or something, it's probably worth it. But for your average student or your average staff person who wants to learn these skills, either for their position or a future position or what have you, is learning Adobe Express enough, or is that all that they really need to use? Especially for, in other words, is this something that's being used outside of academia, outside of higher education, or do they still want you to have Photoshop and Illustrator skills?
Well, I'll put this in two different ways. Never underestimate the value of skills on professional level tools, right? Especially if that's a market that you're trying to get into from an employment perspective. From a communication perspective, from a content creation perspective, there's a lot you can do in Express, which I think you've seen today, but it's not going to do everything, right? There are things that it's either it takes more steps to do, or it's just not at the point where Express is capable of it. It is a web-based tool, so let's keep that in mind. And what web-based tools mean, as whenever we've all experienced this when we're driving somewhere, we're in the country and the bandwidth is horrible, your performance can be impacted, right? So it's great when you've got good connectivity. You may find performance a little shakier in situations where the bandwidth isn't quite so good. The dedicated tools, they are desktop tools. They are, they reside on your computer. They are powerful tools. They can use as much or as little of those features as you want. As a result, because they're being driven by the power of your computer, they may perform more effectively, and you can certainly do more with them. As an average communicator or storyteller, Express may be all you need. But if you're really focusing on video, for example, if you're really focusing on doing podcasts, then you're probably going to want to look at specialized tools if you want to develop a specialty in those areas. But to get started, to get that quick success, to get excited about creating content in a different way rather than, say, just writing an essay, Express is a great starting point because it scaffolds into our other tools. Like I mentioned earlier, you can bring Photoshop files into Express. You can bring Illustrator files into Express. You can export PDFs from Express. So there's a lot of capabilities there that give the novice a chance to get started, to do something, what I used to refer to as a teacher was quick successes, right? I want to be able to do something cool, fast, that I'm proud of. I'll give you a very brief short story on this one. I used to teach journalism students how to photojournalism, and one of the assignments was always create a photo website, and we used Dreamweaver and other HTML tools to build that. And I had to teach a group of students who've never done web design in a matter of 4 weeks how to create something basic that they could then publish to the web. I can guarantee you every single one of those sites, they got done, but nobody saw them the day after they were graded because it was the least they could do. I look at a tool like Adobe Express web page and realize, wow, I could build a photo essay in minutes and focus on the images and focus on the story rather than how do I make my CSS work to position a div in a certain spot or to be responsive, to go from a desktop view to a mobile view. Express handles all that heavy lifting for me, so I don't have to worry about it. So it's kind of an answer and a non-answer at the same point. A lot of it depends on the user. I think that these are good tools to at least become comfortable with, if nothing else. And if you develop a passion or an interest or a focus in an area, then those professional tools like Photoshop or Lightroom or Premiere Pro may become part of your next step in your skill building. Hopefully that helps.
That's great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Mark has a question. Yeah.
First of all, thank you for the presentation. Very well organized. You learned a lot. Thank you. My
Oh, you're
question for you is, how would you, from a pedagogical viewpoint, how would you scaffold projects, say from something relatively simple, like creating an infographic or a collage, and then transition over to maybe web pages, presentations, or a video? Would you suggest a certain sequence for non-design majors that we could take our students through all the capabilities of Express?
Yeah, there's a couple things you can do. The templates are a great starting point, especially for students or faculty who aren't comfortable from a design perspective of putting it all together all at once from scratch. So introducing that concept of working with a template and customizing it to meet your needs, like we saw with the plastic pollution report. That's one way to do it. And as you're doing this, you're distilling down the information from a larger report to those really important facts. And then you can decide, how else am I going to communicate this, or how else would it be effective in a communication process? Would it be a social media campaign that includes video or animated infographics? Would it be, would we then take those smaller bites of information and say, for more details, visit the website and have a QR code that goes from the social media post or the presentation out to a website that's got the flexibility to present far more information in an easy to digest manner. So you could see it progress in that way. And I could see almost um, different utilizations, these different modalities being used to tackle the same topic. I think that's a great way in many from a perspective of learning to say, you've done your research. Now, how do you get your community concerned about local litter and pollution and cleaning up the street or cleaning up the local park? How do you take that information and make it impactful and spread out that information over a series of several social media posts? How do you gauge how do you gauge what you're going to share? How much information is enough? How much is too much? And then you've always got the ability to go from that larger research piece to the social posts that are smaller and more succinct, to that larger, possibly a video, possibly a web page. So you can showcase that information in a variety of ways. And that, for me, from my perspective as an instructor, shows a student's comprehension of the material far more effectively than just a written report, because they've got to figure out different ways to get that message across.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Different ways of getting the message across, I think, is really interesting. We have a student that she created a portfolio where she was in the first year writing program at UNC Chapel Hill. And her professor thought it was helpful for her to learn how to create a video, how to create an infographic, and said that the narrative, or the way that she had to write or understand what she was going to present, had to be changed, had to be communicated differently. And so there was a different kind of being able to communicate. So that's, I think you kind of said it in your own way, Jim, that way, but that's why I think the different, modalities that you can use to communicate are helpful in that way.
Yes, yeah, I agree. It opens up so many opportunities for students and for faculty. Let's face it. I mean, we're all striving as trainers, as faculty, to find different ways to engage with our students and to showcase information and present the work they're going to be learning about, the subjects they're going to be learning about in different ways. And tools like Express make it easy for me to focus on the message, my topics, my subject matter, my learning, my lesson plans, and worry less about the technology that helps me get that information out there. Okay, well, I think we're a bit past time, and I apologize. I kind of have to jump to another call in a few minutes. So um, I really appreciate the questions. Thank you very much for taking the time. I hope this has given you some ideas. If you're just been introduced to Express, hopefully you're going, wow, this is great. And if you've been using it, maybe you've picked up a couple tips that you hadn't had before that you can use to do even more impactful content creation. So thanks, everybody. Have a great day, and maybe we'll see you in the Photoshop session later this afternoon.
Thank you so much, Jim. We'll see you again at 1:30.
Okay.
See you later.
Bye.
Thank you.